going on, guys? What's going on? I hope you all are having a wonderful day. I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. And as this button is spinning, I don't think we're live yet because it's not. StreamYard is just spinning on me. This is
No, I
what
think
happens.
it says it's counting. It says it's live.
Does it say it's live? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm looking at it. This is what happens when you go somewhere and the Wi-Fi is crazy.
yeah.
So I'm gonna talk as if we're live. Then, are you able to hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I hear you clearly. You hear me good?
Yep.
Cool, cool.
All right, so everybody, I'm here with Linton Hines, and Linton Hines is a good brother who also is the CEO and founder of I Never Knew TV, which is an extraordinary network where they do amazing work. I mean, it's really amazing work. I highly recommend it. And before I begin the discussion, I want to ask my brother, how you doing today, man?
Man, everything's good, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, brother, I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. And sorry about that technical mishap. I'm sure you understand. So let's start. Let's jump right into our topic. You and I were talking yesterday, and there's so many interesting things I know we can discuss, but I want to get right to it. You were bringing up something about your experience as an athlete. You played basketball, right,
Yep,
in college?
yep,
Okay,
yep.
and now what position did you play? Small forward.
I was a combo guard, believe it or not. I played the one and the two. I'm not naturally a one or a two, so I played the two, and I really dealt with defense, and I was a slasher.
Yeah, okay. Nice. And so I was 5'8", so I was the short guy. That's it. But you know what I did in basketball actually, man, because I got so jealous of the tall guys controlling the game, is I went to the gym, right, and I read a book on how to shoot a proper jump shot, right,
Yeah,
like how to have the right form with your elbow in and all that stuff, and you not turning your hips. So you know what I did? I would go to the gym and I would shoot like 300 shots every day, right? So I got to the point where I could literally hit 23 pointers in a row
yeah,
and literally shoot threes with my eyes closed. I literally, there were a few times where I would shut my eyes because it's just muscle memory after a while, right? So I kind of became like the midget version of Steph Curry. So I would come out of the game. I couldn't do much else. I could jump a little. My ball handling skills weren't that great. My defense was mediocre, but I could shoot the lights out, and it was kind of cool to be the short guy who could control the game. So that's how I dealt with my little man's complex.
no, facts.
That's my basketball story. But anyway, so you were bringing up a real issue with college athletes that I thought was really intriguing, and you and I were almost. It seemed like we were concluding that the black male's athletic ability has almost been almost like a liability for the community more so than an asset. Did you want to begin the conversation on that and help me understand what you were saying with that?
Yeah. So first I want to say is that with athletes, it's such a I don't like using the word alpha male because it's used in that dating context, but in regards to sports, you really are around alpha males. One will argue around demigods to a certain extent with the athletic ability, right? Um, there's no within that culture, there's no space to share your experience in regards to what you experience mentally, what you experience spiritually, and how you struggle internally when you don't meet this ideal that you've been given. Um, a lot of brothers go away to school, and when they come back, what do? You substitute teach. You may do workouts. You may do a camp. I'll say the lucky ones, maybe they'll get a coaching job at a high school or Division 1 somewhere or bounce around, but they're so typecasted in their beliefs and what they're capable of doing. You mentioned something earlier which ties into this, is that you studied and you did repetition to learn how to shoot properly. Um, a lot of players, not all, some guys are just naturally talented. It is what it is. Right? They could drink, smoke, do whatever. They'll go out there and perform. But your average person has to put in a lot of work to get to a point to where they're effective on the court. And for some reason, they can't translate that repetition, that consistency, that discipline in other aspects of their life. They feel that they only can apply that in sports. And it's kind of taught indirectly from your coaches and the culture in regards to that approach. And a lot of brothers, they don't really do much after school and just look around. I see guys at the gym now, 31, 32, Haven't played overseas in 4 to 5 years, still shooting around talking about they're waiting on a call.
Mm. Wow. Wow. So what it sounds like you might be leaning toward, which I agree with actually, is that maybe perhaps we over invest in our athletic ability at the expense of all the other things that we could be learning how to do. And I do agree with that in that, I remember even growing up as an athlete, and I wasn't even a great athlete. I was okay. I was captain of my track team, and I was faster. I had a race one day where I raced all the fastest guys on the football team, and I beat all of them. And I also have big muscles because I used to work out for track, but I didn't want to play football. And so
Yeah.
I remember being recruited heavily by the football coaches, and I was like, I don't think I want to do that. But it's still, even with my mediocre athletic ability, even I remember defining myself as an athlete, right, without having any clue about all the other things I could do.
And
It seems like almost like it's a cultural curse.
it's a cultural curse. And I want to be clear. There are many benefits of sports when done in the proper context. Sports can really reshape your life. Sports can expose you to so many different things. But when not done in the proper context and those lessons aren't learned, what's the benefit of the sport?
Mm,
Because due to the schedules, both high school and college, when you're whatever a good athlete, there are privileges that are detrimental. So you're not exposed to accountability like other people, and you
mm,
you kind of I call people the term I had what the disenfranchised privilege and disenfranchised or something or entitled, yeah, disenfranchised entitled. You gain a sense of entitlement because you're always receiving extra perks because of your athletic ability. You're not held accountable when it comes to academics. You get a lot of passes on different things. And in college, it's even magnified, right? You
mm-hmm,
start to internalize that about yourself, and you don't gain the regular skills other people gain that have to deal with general society. And when it's cut off, last buzzer your senior year, if you make it there, it literally cuts off like this. It's over.
mm,
What skill sets do you have that transitions into adulthood, into life?
mm.
So it's like you're stunted in certain areas. Now, done in the proper context, you can learn a lot of things if you're able to learn it and you're open to learn it. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't learn those behaviors.
I think that's a great point. I've been always trying to find a way to articulate it properly, and it's hard to really have an honest conversation about it without offending people, right? I have always been concerned about black male culture, particularly when it comes to entertainment and sports, which is really just another type of entertainment, right? It's almost as if, like, when you walk into a room full of black boys and you say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" and half of them say, "I want to be a rapper or an athlete." That right there should tell you that there's a problem,
A big
right?
problem.
And then when you can go look at these, look at the grades of some of these boys, and the grades are in the toilet, and then you're like, "Oh, well, what's going to happen here?" And it reminds me of of the fact that we're all made in America to some extent. All Americans are made in America. So when you raise a black boy to grow into whatever he's defined himself to be, it's like a product, almost like a car that you produce on an assembly line, right? That's why we have millions of the millions of products of the thug culture, because that is mass produced through media, right?
That's
So in a way, it when you look at so many athletes being produced, right? We've got millions of these little basketball and football players, 99.9% of whom will never make a penny playing basketball or football. You produce almost like producing a product where you got a massive amount of waste producing that. Because what happens to that guy who was all city in high school, maybe played at a junior college thinking he's going to go to the NBA, and he doesn't go to the NBA, and to sacrifice for this career that's never going to happen, what's occurred in the process in many cases? He never learned how to read or write at grade level. He was never prepared to train to be a husband or father. He was never given any other marketable skills outside of playing the sport. He may have also embraced the more toxic elements of that culture, right? The hoeing and the weed and the liquor and the parties and everything else. So what happens is, when these universities realize he's not one of the creme de la creme, they dump him back into the hood. And then you've got this like 28, 29-year-old, maybe who's trying in the gym trying to get a shot at the NBA, right? Which will never happen. Maybe he's picked up an alcohol or drug addiction in the meanwhile, some child support payments. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like this sad outcome to what could have been a much better story.
And I want to say something in defense of athletes is that one, depending on if you're in if you grew up in an economically insecure environment, there's so much pressure on you to excel at this particular thing. And we have to factor in attention. I really observed the students when I taught, and like, shockingly enough, man, the self-sabotage is so high because you're penalized for excelling academically, and you're penalized for not trying to pursue something that's not in the entertainment realm or the sports realm. Those who get attention in our community are those who are ultra athletic, super promiscuous, very violent, or very entertaining. That's where it stops. So kids see this. So what they do now is that they start to modify their behavior to kind of get this attention, because there's attention at the end of the day, fire. That's what they're seeking. Like, if you talk to some athletes, they don't really love basketball. That's the only means for your parents to acknowledge you, or your neighbor to acknowledge you, or someone to acknowledge you in your community. Not all the time, but it happens a lot. So culturally now, like, what we give attention to shapes the behaviors. Unfortunately now, no one quote me on these statistics because I haven't looked at it in a while, but I believe there are around 1,100 Division I basketball scholarships, maybe 1,400. It may have changed last time I checked, but I know about 30% goes to junior colleges. It's probably even higher now with the portals, with transferring. Back when I checked, it was about 10% goes to overseas, right? That's for the year the mathematician. That put us around 600, give or take, right? I think there are about 150,000. Don't quote me on it. Please check. So don't quote me on it. 150,000 boys basketball high school seniors in America going in this tunnel. Then now it drops even more. I'm listed at 6'2". Say I'm 6'1", right? Now the Gillett scholarship reduces by 50% when you're under 6'5". It gets better though, right? When you get to school, there's no such thing as a 4-year scholarship. You renew every single year, and if you don't perform, they won't re-sign you, and you'll be sent back home. You need to figure out a place to go, and God forbid your coach gets fired and a new person comes in. I experienced when my coach was fired. I had a new coach. He was a solid dude, very tough dude. Respected Jimmy Patso. Some like him, some don't like him. I learned a lot from the guy. Very tough guy, and but I was able to make it with him. But most people didn't make the cut because he didn't recruit you. So there's all these dynamics that fall into play, and your body, you're dependent on something that's so fragile. With all sports, especially, when you get into football, lacrosse, and these other things. So there's so many different factors, and the culture now, let's put the players to the side. In defense of the players, it's the culture that molds the behavior. Who do we praise? I grew up in East Orange, New Jersey, between East Orange and Newark. Who were the cool kids? The kids that were extremely violent and had temper tantrums consistently, always fighting. Those who were womanizers, right? The hustlers, obviously, those who got money, regardless of how you got it. The athletes, and if you were an entertainer. Those who were academically sound, who grew up to be solid men, have great careers, were ignored.
Wow. And not just ignored by the community at large, but even when it comes down to things like what boys care about, right? Like getting the attention of females. If you've dumbed down the female population to the point where they want these guys who aren't necessarily always going to be the best husbands and fathers and everything else, then it kind of does make that kid, that straight A student, feel like he's out of place. Facts. Like why would I want to be smart when that's not going to get me what I want at the age of 16 or 17? It's funny, man. I like that theory you laid out. You said violent, athletic, promiscuous, and entertaining. I like to make acronyms to remember stuff. I came up with Vape, right? Like, people vape, and like you're vaping, you like we smoking something, right? So like I think that vape culture that you're talking about it's real. I think it's worthy of a discussion that doesn't really get had. Because I think what it does is it sounds, when you're honest about it, it ends up making people say, "Oh, you're just a hater," right? Or you're just,
Yeah. So, and I think that too. The culture is so hyper masculine. You're not allowed to share in regards to like how you truly feel. So, for instance, now depression is very high amongst athletes, college and professional players. Why? Um, the transition. I spoke to a brother. I went to Ghana with Jeremiah Wusu. I forgot the brother's name. He played for the Broncos. He played when Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl, and we had a good conversation about his transition from being an NFL star to a civilian because the attention and the roars are addictive more than the money, depending on the person, the insecurity of the person. Because you're coming from a background, as I said, where you've been ignored. Most boys, in general, right? We have a collective boy crisis, but especially as a black boy, depending on the home you are ignored. No one pays you any mind. You have to do something extremely great for someone to just pay you the least amount of money. Now you're in a position where you're being praised that you wanted your entire life and it's taken away. How do you transition back to regular society when you walk on the street and people don't know you?
it's
The
tough.
roar it's a tough transition, right? So we don't acknowledge that. Two things I just want to touch on before we continue. I want to jump back to the boys, and a lot of times, boys get a bad rap in regards to their intellect in the black community. I call it cap because what occurs is that yes, you may have a portion that's behind, but you have a large portion that's brilliant and dumb themselves down due to the environment. There's no praise or there's no benefit of you excelling at school, short term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what they do is they really dumb themselves down to blend in. They don't want to answer questions. We used a program where the children could answer privately on it was almost like a chat, but the other kids couldn't see it. You can see it. Those answers show their brilliance, right? If they were answered verbally, they wouldn't use that answer. They would tone it down. I've
Mm.
experienced with my own eyes for years. So how can you say that the children aren't brilliant? They aren't great. They are there. It's just like to them short term, I said, and they don't understand what's the benefit. How does it benefit them for me being an A student? How does it
Mm.
benefit me doing all my work? No one cares.
Mm. You know, that's funny you say that because it does. I don't think it even stops in high school. I still remember when I would when I decided I was leaving Syracuse to go and try to talk about economics like more publicly, and I would go into urban. And this was before generational wealth and all that stuff became popular. Um, I remember I would go to urban radio stations and they would ask me to dumb it down. They would say, don't use long words and don't, black people don't want to talk about economics. Black people want to party. They want to, whatever. And I was like, no, well, that's why would we not care about economics? That's the number one reason that we are enslaved. We
Yeah.
need to master our economics if we want to get free. So I remember thinking, okay, we got to change the culture. And I didn't know if I could do it. I don't think that I single handedly did much of anything in that regard, but I know that I had some sort of an impact because I just said, you know what? Um, I know who the fuck I am, and you're not going to talk me out of wanting to be an intelligent black man. And now the problem with that, the tragedy of that, brother, was that I felt like I had to walk away from so many of the black males in my space because of that.
Yeah.
I did not the uncles, the cousins, the guys I knew in college, they didn't understand why to me it was very logical. I said, why wouldn't I go to the library at 10:30 at night so I can compete with the Asian kids and whatever? They'd be like, no, 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 you should go to the step show. You study too hard. You're not having enough fun. Or I would say, or when I was I got invited to join every single black fraternity. Every fraternity recruited me because I had the highest GPA on campus, right? And I think I would have brought up the average or something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I was cool. I don't think I was a cool guy at all. But I remember I was almost pledged Q because my roommate was a Q. And I just remember just saying, y'all are stupid. Like, you just had a party where you had sex with like 10 different women. It's like, why would you do that? You're going to die. Like, you're going to catch the, for some of those guys, I remember for my roommate, because he was so eager to fit in, he would just go along with the crowd. And I remember saying to him, like, dude, this isn't even who you are. Like, all this drinking and womanizing and all that, you're trying to fit this image. This, you said, the hypermasculine nonsense. You're trying to fit an image that doesn't even reflect who you are, and it's very damaging. So I think that what I kind of figured out was, I said, you got to really love yourself to confront that
All
sort
right.
of pushback. You know?
That's what I was gonna say, because I know you said that you criticized the brother, right? And in their defense, I say that a lot. In their defense, right? Um, the core thing is that self love and that self worth.
Mm,
I don't know if I said it earlier, but I know I said it yesterday. Like, a lot of brothers are typecasted. You have actors, they only play particular roles. So with the information we get on a daily basis, too many brothers are typecasted. They only feel they can do this particular thing.
mm,
Since we're talking about athletes, right? Athletes feel like they can only do this thing. The brilliance that they have in this particular thing, they only feel they could do this thing. And what I was able to learn and respect to Coach Brandon and John Morton and great coaches I had is that is the greatest transferable skill I received from sports.
yes. Yes.
Discipline and repetition. You remember you said earlier you went to the gym and you just shot, and by shooting consistently, you know how to tweak it. You start to get that feel. You know when it's going in. You know when it's going off. I've
Yeah.
just applied that same thing to my life: consistency and repetition. I've
Yes.
done that is that's like everything I've done. I've been successful at is consistency and repetition. The only
Yes.
reason I was able to get a Division I scholarship was consistency and repetition. I'm able to get through hard times. I'm able to put things in perspective. I'm able to keep my faith, and I'm able to be consistent, right? And repetition fire.
Yep.
It's like there's no deviation. So I will say, but unfortunately, with the typecasting, you said it earlier too. And that's the thing too. I remember when I was on campus. They used to say, like, you don't act like a this and that, because I never fully identified as a bass. I didn't go to a girl and like, yo, I hooped. I would
Mm,
just talk to her. And it's like dudes walking around like, I'm a ball player, I'm a hooper.
yep.
So you identify with that so much, when it doesn't work, you're a broken soul.
Yeah.
Your
It's very
confidence is crushed.
yeah, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous to identify yourself as an athlete um because what if you lose that? If you lose that, then you lose a part of yourself.
And you're
And
gonna lose it. That's the key. You're gonna lose it.
depressing as shit. Yeah, I had a friend who got she had a boyfriend in college that was a star football player. He was so good that he ended up going to the NFL a season early. He left his junior year, and so she got married to him maybe a year after. He ends up playing for the Seahawks,
Yeah.
and because he's all American, he got drafted. Why wouldn't he expect to have this 12, 13-year NFL career? Well, it didn't work out like that, right? When with the team, I think he got injured his first season, and he just didn't get the playing time he thought he was going to get. Then they eventually waived him, but because he was still young and he had no other skill, like football was his thing. That's how he identified himself. He did what a lot of guys do. He sat around waiting for them to call back, sitting by the phone, just sitting at home. And she said, I thought I'd be living this life of the wife of an NFL player, where money would be no object. And instead, she said, I had to get two jobs to pay all the bills because he didn't want to get a regular job. And she said that on top of that, he formed addictions, to different drugs, the painkillers, the steroids, all that. And then you mix that with the liquor because you're depressed. You're sitting at home all day, watching Sports Center all day. A guy that works at Sports Center literally told me that Sports Center started shifting their whole lineup because they knew there were so many black males sitting at home all day that
Yeah.
they wanted to give them entertainment that they could watch while they're sitting at home. So that's so a lot of guys get caught up in that stuff. They'll watch all the sports shows. So that's what he did. He sit and watch the sports shows, drink, do whatever, God knows what, take his pills. And she said that he eventually started to get very abusive because he was depressed. He'd lost his career. They never called back. And it went from being this fairy tale to being this nightmare. Right.
And
And, and I think that it's not that sports are bad, right? I think
not
you
at
and
all.
I
Yeah.
both agree on that. Sports are great. It's more so to say that if you're great enough to become great at this sport through the repetition and the consistency and the hard work, why can't you apply that to everything that you do? I found that what I learned from sports propelled me in everything that I did. I'm similar to yourself.
No facts. And I just want to say, put things in context for people listening. What I've learned for the athletes who were like very talented and like extremely talented, people don't understand. Some of these dudes are like super talented. Yeah, like actually they work out still, but
Yes.
like they are
Yes.
freaks of nature.
Yes.
They don't get that repetition and they don't have that discipline. So when they kind of plateau and get in an area where that talent isn't working anymore, those are
Mm,
the ones. Those are the ones that dive the hardest. I know the athletes that do the best in life are ones that have that really have to grind. They weren't necessarily the best player. They were a role player, but they really had to push themselves to the extreme just to be on the team. Those are the ones I've noticed, not all the time, but more consistently do well in life because they have that work ethic. They really have that work ethic. They didn't get all the privileges of the other person. They didn't deal with that praise all the time because that praise at a young age without the proper support system is very detrimental. It really kind of messes with the psyche and messes with your belief about yourself.
It does. It does. I think, and actually, but before I move on, I want everybody to know who I'm talking to. I'm speaking with Linton Hines, by the way, everybody. And he runs I Never Knew TV. I'm gonna put the URL on the screen. And also, I want everybody to know because I'm really enjoying this conversation. Linton is hosting a great event that's coming up in the very near future, and I'm going to let Linton kind of talk about that as much as he wants to. I'll put this link in the chat. It's happening in Philly, and it's to the benefit of our community. So, Linton, if you want to, why don't you tell me about the event you're having in Philly and who's coming and when's it's happening?
All right.
And everybody, I'm sharing the link in the chat. Go ahead.
So the event's called Groundings with My Brothers and Sisters. It was inspired by a book by Walter Rodney. Um, it's a holistic health event in Philadelphia. The guests we'll have there is Nuri Muhammad, Styles P. of the Locks, Muda Baruka, Midwife Asasia, Lawrence Aja, Dejas Mach Kwasi, Dr. Dorothy Holly, and Deborah Hines. Uh, the purpose of the event, we're touching on numerous topics. We have a panel on marriage. Excuse me. Muda Baruka will be speaking about self worth and overcoming obstacles. He's a Rastafari legend, broadcast legend, actor, author, poet. He's really sacrificed his life for what his beliefs, and he's the greatest person to speak about that. Too many times we talk about being your true self and all that. We're not being our true selves, and also we really struggle with setbacks and obstacles, and he'll be speaking on that. Nuri Muhammad, some of you know, student minister to Minister Louis Farrakhan. He'll be giving a great presentation. We have a panel on marriage, which is very important aspect of marriage. Vetting your spouse.
Oof.
All right. That's we're doing vetting your spouse, and also when you actually get married to the point, we're going to talk about sustaining your marriage through the rough times, realistic things that are applicable. We have three. What's the proper term? Let me tell you. Excuse me. I call them breakout rooms, but oh man, yeah, like breakout rooms. Midwife Asasia will be speaking out of prenatal care, things you should be doing while you're pregnant. Deborah Hines is going to speak about scheduling your workouts and your nutrition. What I've learned over time is that I stopped drinking in 2013. I stopped eating meat in 2016, right? And when I hear people speak about like workout and nutrition, the first part is the intention, but your schedule is wrong. The schedule that they make is not sustainable.
Mm.
So that's like the first hurdle. You can't follow what a dude's doing online or in a video. You can pull from that, but you have to really customize it to something that could work within your life. And that's what she's going to try to help you do during that time. Dr. Dorothy Holly is speaking about mental health, and Styles P, we're speaking about the importance of mental health in men. Too many times when the brothers talk about being healthy, they always talk about running and hitting the gym and not getting your mind right. You know, I've been working out my whole life, and until I got my mind right, that's when my health really started to peak. So I think he's a great example of that because, as you know, he is an advocate for health. He's actually doing the work as youth shops, and I'm just glad to have him there. But it's a great event, man. It's a great event to be there in the building with like-minded people. It'd be a great energy there. I guarantee you'll definitely meet someone to add to your support system because what I noticed when you start to change your behaviors in life, it gets kind of lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Because you start stripping off so many things, and one of the things you really start stripping off is people. You know, people that don't align with the betterment of yourself, and you need to put yourself in places to be aligned with those people to create a new ecosystem that'll benefit you long term and benefit the vision you have for yourself. So we'll be there in Philly, man. There'll be a vibe. Hopefully you can come out. It's currently a discount running now. If you want to check it, he put the Eventbrite in the link. But Ground is with my brothers and sisters. That's what we're dealing with.
All right. And so what I'm going to do is put a link to the event in the chat, and it's going to be in Philly, right?
Yep, going to be in Philly Saturday, October 12th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And also, Plant-based breakfast and lunch is included in your ticket, so you know.
Okay. Yeah. So everybody should check that out. Man, I wish I could be in Philly. I'd love to go, man. That sounds amazing. Styles P met him once, really liked him. Brother
Yeah,
Nuri, yeah. Say it again.
no, I said Styles P have a nice spirit to him, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah,
then
nice spirit.
Brother Nuri, been knowing him for many years, and I consider him to be one of the greatest black leaders on the planet.
Facts.
One of the greatest leaders, period, on the planet. He's just,
Facts.
an amazing guy. And so, in my view, I think, Linton, that this really speaks to just our community and really us as men in terms of just realizing that we have everything that we need.
Facts.
If we pull together all the human capital in our community, can connect with each other, lift each other up, we can be the greatest community on this planet because we got the thoroughbreds, the superstars. We have the brilliant people like yourself. I love talking to you, man. I never knew TV. Everybody should watch that, by the way. If you're not watching, if you're not subscribing to this channel, you got to subscribe to this brother's channel because, and I'd love for you to talk about that. You just bring on these guests that black people need to hear from. I think there are certain people who have ideas that should be heard by everyone. They should be famous. They should be more famous than, like I tell you, man, not to sound like a hater, but I was watching, I happened to be scrolling through Instagram, right? And I saw Cardi B going off, right, about her ex-husband. And it was the most ghetto shit you ever heard, right? They're talking about who, you slept with so-and-so and, blah, 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 a lot of cussing and all that. She had 100,000 people on the live, 100,000 people listening to this, chaos, right? Where you're literally publicly destroying the life of your child, publicly destroying your brands, publicly, literally publicly reducing the IQ of everybody listening, right? And I said, man, wouldn't it be great if we had people that were sharing knowledge, high level knowledge, high vibration, high frequency information that had that same level of attention, right? Because this is the kind of stuff that makes your life better, right? We talk about being enslaved. Well, there's a pathway to freedom, but you got to go look for it, right? We talk about being oppressed. Well, there are people that will empower you. Are you listening to those people? Are you accepting those ideas? It seems like a little bit of an uphill battle. How's that been for you with I Never Knew TV? Because I think that your viewership should be 10 times. I mean, it's already high. It's you get great viewership, and it's a beautiful platform, and you're kicking ass. But I'm sure there's a part of you that maybe feels like, man, more people need to see this stuff. Does that go through your mind?
Um, it used to, but as I get a deeper understanding, it doesn't. Because one, I have a lot of issues with the social media platforms because they categorize the information as controversial. And you've watched what we speak about, and no one's saying anything crazy. Well, I guess depending on who would consider it controversial, but no one's being disrespectful to anyone. No one's advocating for anything that's destructive or anything. So you have that factor. And two, we have to be realistic about the psyche of the people where they are. You know, they're bombarded with a certain message 24/7. So it does take unique people who are strong to try to buck the system and go against the current and provide something that's actually beneficial to the people. I don't think the people understand how much those who do it sacrifice to do it.
Hmm.
That's the that's the part. I don't think they know how much we sacrifice to do what we do. But no, it's just kind of, man. It's just the people are so bombarded with certain sounds and images and energies that are destructive, and we just we do the best we can to counter that
Hmm.
with the resources we have.
Well, you know what, man? Now that I'm thinking about it, I can only imagine just the sacrifices you've made for this. And I still remember when you had me on, and I remember I got my call from my manager who was like, "Yeah, there's a brother in Philly, near Philly, that wants to interview you, and he wants to fly you in for the interview." And because I'm a business person, I'm thinking, okay, this is expensive, flight, hotel, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, it also told me that you were serious. That was
Yeah.
another thing I noticed, right? And then as I got to know you, I understand, like I said, okay, I respect where this brother's coming from because you are a serious businessman that's running a very serious network, one of the most serious out here, more serious than mine. Me, I'll get on here and I'll just talk shit, but I'm not. flying people in and conducting these high quality interviews, setting up cameras the way you do. So I put you even above what I do in terms of quality. And so I can only imagine what that's been like in terms of a business model. How has that been for you to really make back all the money that you're investing in making this thing go?
Well, it's been good. Well, I've been doing this since 2016. I haven't made a dollar since like 2022
Mm,
when I actually started making money. Then last year was my first year doing it full time, where it's actually beneficial. And like with all businesses, you have your ups and downs, and we have other means to get money. But um, the brand is built up to a way where it is profitable.
okay, good.
It's a vibe. Obviously, we're venturing off to other things, events and other opportunities that present themselves, all in the same space, same message and same intent. But I'm just very thankful, man. It's mind-boggling to me that I'm able to do this and be compensated for it. I
Nice.
can't lie to you, so I can't because I've been doing it for years, and I've always had to do other stuff for sources of income, and to really sit down and do it and put my energy to it has been such a blessing.
Yeah, man. Well, let me ask you: is your background broadcast? Like, did you study that, or
No,
how do
that's the
you?
thing. No, that's how the channel got started, man. All right, so I was in Jamaica at a concert called Rebel Salute when it was real big, right? And I saw the media that was there, and there was a lot of Europeans and Asians there at the time. This was like 2022. There were a lot of Europeans and Asians at the time, and I saw what they presented, and I was like, man, you know what? I was like, one, they're presenting the culture wrong, and I could do a better job of it. Shout out to Gerlaine Paul. He's a Emmy-winning award producer at the NBA, a brethren I know, and I invited him to Jamaica, bro, and we started doing interviews.
Wow.
I'm lying to you. I'm lying to you. 2008, I actually did my first interview with my buddy Donovan Thomas, old college teammate. We went down to Jamaica because I had the idea of doing like a local broadcast TV, but the prices were too high and life got in the way. But I started again in 2016, and yeah, we just started putting up videos and just guerrilla. When I got a chance, I had access to people. Don't nobody give you access to you. Don't nobody want to work with you. And I'm like a reggae historian in a sense, and I'm a pseudo uh, Pan African historian. So I was well versed in a lot of information, finances, and that. And I just do my research and prepare for conversations. And I'll give you a weird fact, man. You know how rappers write lyrics?
Yeah.
If I hear a conversation, I'll make questions for that person and just put them down.
Wow. Nice. Nice. I love
Yes,
that.
it's a weird thing, but like I listened, like I really understand people's psyche. I know what they can answer. I know what they can't answer. So I would never ask someone. I want to make people look as brilliant as they can. So I would never ask you anything I know you can't answer on that type of vibe. Like that when you were here, the questions were specifically. You get what I'm saying? There weren't any
Yeah.
general questions. They were like specifically for what was going on with you and in line with your expertise.
Wow. I love that. So you're a great interviewer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you should have the same audience as Claude Shay Shay. That's what I say.
no, it's
He's
never
a
no
good
no.
interviewer in his own way. You know,
No
yeah,
different avenues, fire different missions. Different mission. He
so
does what
true.
he does, and we give thanks for what he does, and I do what I do. But different mission.
Well, I tell you, bro, I love. I want to publicly say that I have a lot of respect for what you do. I want to also reiterate to everybody listening that you have to go search for I Never Knew TV. There will be a lot of things that you never knew that you will know as a result. And also, I want to remind everybody. I won't put this link also in the bio, but this brother's having a great event for our people on October 12th in Philly, and brother Nuri Muhammad and Styles P and a lot of other great people are going to be there. So take a look at that event and see if you want to stop by. I know you're going to benefit. Don't do it as a favor to him. Do it as a favor to yourself. And
Yeah,
so
I wanted to add too, man. This whole idea of investing, we have to invest in ourselves, and this is not if you don't come to the event, fire. It is what it is, right? But in general, you have to invest in things that are going to be beneficial to you, your family, and the community long term. I think we have this idea in regards to like you don't right you spent all this money on alcohol, clothes, or drugs, or whatever you're doing that's not beneficial to you. I ask that you kind of, if you have, redistribute your resources and things that are going to benefit you long term. I am not giving this to sell to come to the event. If you come, you come. But just in general, look at how you're spending your money and spend it in places that's beneficial to you. I hear people complain about gym memberships. I hear people complain about the prices of healthy foods or healthy supplements or yoga classes or getting a therapist. All these things are beneficial to you long term, and you should spend your money in those places.
Absolutely, man. Let me say this. I told my students in the Black Business School yesterday, I was breaking down the retirement crisis that has already started. It's not coming, it's already here. And I said, most Americans are not ready for retirement. And the reasons we're not prepared for retirement are for the exact reasons that we're overweight, that our families are broken. All these things, all these areas require sacrifice for the future. They require some sort of delayed gratification, some sort of investment, and the investments might either be in money, time, attention, or energy. And so when you look at what you're talking about, people not investing in themselves, it shows up in a lot of areas, right? If you look at how many overweight, obese, fat, sick Americans are dying of cancer right now, it's from a lack of sacrifice, lack of investment, right? You wanted to eat the cheeseburger instead of the salad, and you didn't want to go to the gym. You didn't have the time or the money to pay the $12 gym membership and take your ass in there, and so as a result, now you're paying 1,000 times that in medical bills and consequences, right? Or I don't want, or if I'm in a relationship with my wife, baby mama, whatever it is, and I just don't have the discipline to work things out with her, and my family falls apart and I end up paying thousands in court costs, divorce fees, child support, everything else, and my kid ends up hating me because maybe they've been turned against me. That's all the result of a lack of investment, right? So I look at everything as an investment. Like I love the fact that you're having that panel on vetting your spouse because I had that very same conversation the other day with students. I said you should vet your partner the way you vet a business. Anybody who buys a business should do due diligence before you make an investment. Well, you're going to invest your life in this person. You better do your due diligence, or bad
Man,
things are going to happen.
the people on the panel, Lawrence Aja, he's like a pastor and a marriage counselor. He does a lot of work in the mental health space. Dejan Smach is a lawyer, and also he's been married for I think 2 decades. And Dr. Dorothy Holly is a therapist. But what we were discussing is that like I didn't understand this premarital sex until like I became an adult and understood how much sex distorts your view of people. So um, I think you mentioned this when you were in Philly, but it's just like you're sexually fulfilled by this person, and all the red flags you see, you're in denial about it, or you try to justify them or think that they're going to go away. They're just going to get even, they're going to fly even higher as this relationship increases. And like, I think, man, I know people don't want to hear it in our over sexualized society. And I'll be a hypocrite to say that I practiced this my whole life and I didn't. And I wish I did earlier. But like, you may want to hold out on engaging with someone sexually during that courted period because if the sex is too good, it's going to distort your perception of that person.
Yep, absolutely.
And you can't make proper your decision making ability is going to be highly disrupted.
Yes, that's well said. It's 100% true. Yeah, I was so fascinated by. I became really in my late 20s. I became very fascinated with um, sexuality and also jealousy.
Yeah.
Like, where does that come from? Like, what is it about that process that makes me feel possessive of the person I'm with? Like I can't imagine her being with anybody else, and I get enraged by this. I wanted to explore those emotions and say, what the hell's going on here? And so I went down a rabbit hole, man. I read books and science about what happens in the brain, and man, that dope amine, dope amine, that it makes you insane. You
It makes
literally,
and it's
human beings are a drug for you, right? So dopamine will it gives you extensive amounts of pleasure, relaxation, and also what's the last one? Oh, bonding. And so it's very addictive, like dope amine. Right? Take away
well,
the amine part. It's dope. So you are so when you decide to sleep with that person, they become your dope dealer.
no
And,
facts, man.
and and if you get a drug dealer that doesn't care about you, then they're gonna just use their power to harm you and to control you.
and you don't need to experience everything. Like, I've I only drank and smoked in my life. Thankfully, I never did anything else. I'm glad I didn't do anything else. But if I did, who's to say I'd be able to handle it?
Mm,
And a lot of times it's just like, oh, you want to experience this lady, you want to experience this guy, but like experience may be a little too good for you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, if you think about it, most drugs, whether you're talking about coke, fentanyl, all that, it all go. It's the same playbook. They all go to your your pleasure reward centers, right? Just like sex does. It's just more intense. And I remember I heard a guy who told me he tried coke one time.
Yeah.
And he said I was afraid because he said I've never felt that good in my life. Right? Like, so if you look at our community full of all these traumatized people, you're in this constant pain from your trauma because you never properly healed. Well, then the dope is a good way to kind of heal the trauma. So I believe the same way you have drug addicts, heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, you also have sex addicts,
Facts, many of it.
right? Right. And I think if you can't harness that in and control that, then you're going to be in trouble. And what society does to make it worse is we have not identified that as a problem, right? If someone doesn't pull out a red flag and say, "Hey, let's be aware of this addiction and what it's going to do to you," then people say, "Oh, it must be okay because nobody's talking about it." Like alcohol. Like alcohol, did you know that the most dangerous drug on earth, according to most studies, it's not coke and heroin and all that. It's alcohol.
Listen, I told you I stopped drinking in 2013. So I had a very good relationship with alcohol, and a very good close relationship. And what I noticed is that, and with people too, is that as long as you're functioning, people seem to be in denial about stuff. Because if anyone that knows me would, that 2008 to 2013, I always had a drink in my hand.
Mm,
I wasn't a
wow.
sloppy drunk. Like I wasn't a sloppy drunk. I was still taking care of business. I was doing real well in life. And it's like I know this is that, and I can see how this happens around certain people because people are quick to be in denial when you're not, when they're still benefiting from you.
Wow.
Once that benefit starts to decline, then they may have an issue with what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you could be high 24/7. But as long as you're still producing and they benefit from you, no one cares. They only care when they stop benefiting from
Oh, well, you pretty much talking about the whole music industry.
you. Yeah, it's just, but
R. Kelly, DMX, like
because only one time my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, but she's the only one that said something about the drinking one time. 'Cause I started drinking like super early in the day. But no one else ever said anything to me about drinking. And what I
Mm,
realized, because I was in the same, like I'm just a chill dude. So the same way I could be like totally drunk and I'm chill the same way. So I guess that played a role in it. But I just noticed that like people, things got to get really extreme for people to have a concern about when you're doing something.
yeah, that's true. That is true, man. And again, I think the reason alcohol is at the top of that list of dangerous drugs is mainly because no one ever points at, like, it seems normal because everybody else is doing it. But when the
Facts.
scientists looked at it objectively in terms of the cost, physically, financially, personally, in terms of relationships and all that, they said, "Oh, alcohol far exceeds the other drugs, so the other drugs are regulated.
Yeah.
Alcohol's not regulated; it's encouraged, right?" But when you think about what that consistent application of that poison into your body, what it does, to you physically, just even I just remember I had a lot of uncles that drank a lot, and I just remember seeing the stuff that they would do while they were drunk, and I was like, man, I don't know what kind of man I would be. Like I became kind of nervous. Like I don't want to get locked up because So I kind of think that real life conversations amongst intelligent black men are important for young black men, so you can at least understand what you're walking into. Because I bet you anything that there is probably at least 20 or 30,000, maybe more, black men in prison right now because of something that they did while they were under the influence.
No, it's more
Maybe
than that, man. More than that.
maybe
Because I
100,000.
read I read a study that and don't take it as official stat, but I think it's about like 60-70% of people who were arrested are inebriated at the time.
Boom. There you go. There you go. There you go.
It
And
may,
it's
it may be more, but I remember reading it's like pretty high, and there's a direct correlation because if you think about it, it's just like the average person is so broken emotionally and mentally that they really get wild when they get drunk. Fire, their behavior gets like really unhinged, and I don't know, bro. If you're drinking all the time, you're in a stressful environment, and you're not in the best mental state, you may end up doing something that's not beneficial to yourself or those around you. You
Yeah,
know.
man. The best thing ever happened to me was that my biological father was a drug addict who didn't recover till he got older, and my stepfather was a drug addict who recovered while he was young.
Yeah.
So he would talk to me about drugs in a very honest way and give me real life information on what it does to you and all that. So even at an early age, I was like, oh man, I'm never touching that. Right. So sometimes somebody who's made those mistakes is the best teacher in the world. He had perfect credibility with me. And and I think about how much that saved me in terms of, social costs, economic costs, etc. And I really think that generally the black community should have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to drugs. And really, when it comes to alcohol, we should have some sort of discussion, maybe not so much to say, okay, you can't drink, right? I think that's extreme. But I think to really just say, like, hey, this is a problem. This is, I think anybody in here who has a dad who was an alcoholic knows what I'm talking about.
I don't know. I don't think it'd be extreme to ban alcohol because you have areas or countries where alcohol is banned because we can't handle it collectively. So why shouldn't we ban it? Because I could
Well,
say majority of men who really drink got problems in their house. You know?
yeah, absolutely.
And like we
Absolutely.
just let's just put the truth. People who really drink, I'm not even talking about pissy drunk, but just drink consistently, because that consistent escapism is something wrong. Like that fact that you have to escape every single day, something's wrong.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And I'm glad you said it because I think uh, somebody's going to hear it and it's going to help somebody, right?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because there are a lot of people who think that you're being extreme with it and all that, man. But I think
But
these conversations.
if we're in an
Go
extreme
ahead.
situation, it takes extreme measures. You know, we are in an
Boom.
extreme situation, right?
Yeah. So see, y'all see why I like this brother? He's got common sense.
I'm just
We-
saying it's just like so. It's like the wording that we use is just like, bro, we're in a collective. We're in a very bad situation.
right
And we
on.
need to change certain behaviors to get a different outcome because I think too many times, I don't know if it's the TV shows or the internet, I think people forget like the serious situation black people are in this country collectively.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think oppression is a two-way street. You
Yeah,
know, it's hard to be oppressed if you refuse to be oppressed,
yeah.
right? It's almost impossible, right? So we are complicit in our own oppression, and also because we've relegated ourselves to this victim status, that takes away accountability. Like, because if all you are is a lowly Negro victim, then it's racist to expect you to have any sort of say in your own fate and your own outcomes, or have some accountability for your own choices. And I reject that vehemently. You're never going to make any progress if you maintain a mindset like that.
Yeah, facts,
Yeah,
that goes into the typecast vibe we were talking about earlier
there
with
you
the
go.
athletes. We just put ourselves in a bubble and we just have a limited amount of potential. We just have to tap into it and work at it, and not
Right
just talk
on,
about
right,
it.
right on. All right, everybody. Well, you know what? I want everybody to go and as we head out, I want you to go follow Linton Hines. Is it Linton?
Yeah, Linton.
Okay. Linton Hines from I Never Knew TV. His website is IneverKnewTV.com. You can follow I Never Knew TV on YouTube. Also, I'm going to put the link one more time for the event that he's hosting in Philly. That's going to have a lot of great guests. That is a must see. This is must see TV. Except it's not TV. It's a real life event. So I'm going to put that in there one more time, and I'm also going to put it in the description to the video. So I hope you guys will go out and support him in Philly. And I want to say thank you, brother. It was great to have this conversation with you, man. We got to do this again.
No, we good. Thanks for having me on, and respect everyone out there. Keep doing your thing, stand firm, and hopefully I'll see some of you at Grounders, my brothers and sisters. Uh, Dr. Watkins, appreciate you again. All right.
Sure thing, brother. 100%.
All right, cool.
All right, everybody. Well, you have a great day. God bless you. Thank you guys for hanging out and listening. And look forward to seeing you tomorrow in Money in the Morning Financial Consciousness Training. So if you'd like to join Money in the Morning for free, where we focus on the art of economic elevation, you can go to b1moneytips.com. That's b1moneytips.com. Have a good day, everybody. See you soon. Peace.